A troubled security guard begins working at Fazbear's Pizza. During his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift won't be so easy to get through, and pretty soon he will unveil what actually happened at Freddy's. That is why today on the Summarizer, 5 Nights at Freddy's. In the 80s, two bros cooked up Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a seriously weird joint with some seriously creepy animatronics. And it seems that not everything worked out well because under some bizarre circumstances, 5 kids vanished into thin air and were never seen again. That's when Freddy Fazbear's Pizza shut down for good, and it ain't ever coming back. So, here we are with a night guard who used to work at this old pizza place. He's hauling it, running for his life, and just when you think it can't get crazier, he passes out and wakes up in a death trap that ends his life. Now we are shown a drawing on the wall of the yellow bunny, the leader Spring Bonnie with those 5 missing kids from the pizza restaurant. And that's when we meet Michael Schmidt, or Mike for short. He wakes up after a rough night's sleep, and you can tell he's seen better days. He heads out to grab some grub, and ends up striking up a convo with a dude. But as soon as he spots a lone kid in the mall, all his past traumas come rushing back, and he goes on a wild chase, mistaking the guy he was talking to for someone else. Because it turns out that it's just his son, and they haul him to the cops. Long story short, he loses his job, and Mike is doing everything possible to get the head of human resources to forgive him and give him another chance. So this HR dude remembers there's a night security gig at the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza joint. But Mike is not very happy at first because it's a night shift, and our protagonist has a few problems with sleeping well and staying awake. Before continuing with the video, I wanted to mention that I launched a new channel about processes and how it's made called Factory Processes. Here, you can watch curious and very satisfying videos about the behind of every object or food that you consume every day. So if you like these kind of videos, I would like you to subscribe, activating all notifications, and go to watch it when we finish this video. I leave you the link below and comment what you think about the channel. Now we continue with the kill count. So he heads back home to check on his sister Abby, and that's when we meet Maxine, the babysitter. While Abby's doodling some weird stuff, she tells Mike to watch out for his imaginary friend, because apparently those imaginary buddies are gonna be a big deal later on. But for now, Mike just crashes for some shut-eye and has a super weird dream, where all his past traumas unfold. Turns out, life was all good until his little brother, Garrett, got kidnapped. That led to his mom passing away soon after, and his dad taking off. The next morning, Mike's got to deal with his Aunt Jane, who's trying to take custody of Abby, saying Mike's mental health and job situation ain't up to snuff. But that is when we find out she only wants Abby for that sweet government support check. Feeling the heat and facing a custody battle he'd probably lose, Mike has no choice but to ring up the odd job manager and take that fantastic job as a security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. On his way to the place, his boss gives him the lowdown. It's an old 80s pizza joint that's been left for dead, where all sorts of sketchy folks break in and trash the place. So Mike's only job is to make sure no one gets inside. And there you have it. Mike starts his graveyard shift at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where on his very first night, the animatronics give him a warm welcome. He watches an old safety video that cuts out halfway through. So he goes to grab some safety gear, and that's when he gets his first jump scare from Balloon's boy. This night, Mike knows he won't get any sleep because there's something else lurking in this place. Armed with a flashlight, he's about to explore and stumbles upon 3 animatronics, Bonnie, Chica, and, of course, Freddy Fazbear. But nothing happens yet. So Mike takes a snooze, and guess what? He has that same recurring dream where his bro goes missing. But this time, there's a twist. In his dream, he's chillin' with those 5 kids who vanished from the 80s pizzeria. But before he can find out more, he wakes up in the morning and heads back home to see his sis. Meanwhile, the wicked aunt has a powwow with the babysitter, who's actually a fake and was only there to dig up dirt on Mike and make him look like a lousy guardian. The catch is, they couldn't find anything. So now Jeff, the babysitter's brother, comes up with a plan. Let's trash the pizzeria to get Mike fired and lose custody. Fast forward to another night, and Mike's catching some resting on the job like usual. He's back in that traumatic dream, but this time, it gets real interesting. He's chasing a kid, and when he catches him, the kid smacks him, leaving a nasty wound on his arm. Then, he sees his eyes bleeding, and that's his wake-up call. Back in the real world, he hears a peculiar tune from 5 Nights at Freddy's, and TS freaky, cause there's no one alive in this place. So he's spooked and cuts the power, then restarts it. But before anything else goes down, someone's at the door. That's when we meet Vanessa Shelley, a cop who immediately points out that the dream injury is real. So after patching him up, she tells him to watch his back, because previous night guards didn't last long. Now our new lead introduces him to Freddy Fazbear, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica, who has Mr. Cupcake. And now the cop flips a switch, and they start dancing, but suddenly, the lights go out. Next morning, Vanessa says her goodbyes, but not without a warning. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza always hides something beneath the surface. Mike heads home, and at the same time, Jeff's plan to get custody for Aunt Jane is in full swing. He's recruited more goons, and they arrive at the pizzeria moments after our duo leaves. Once they're inside, it's total chaos, and the fun begins, but not just for the criminals. The first one to meet our stars gets a cupcake as a welcoming committee, and Chica, after a good scare, makes sure he's a meal for Mr. Cupcake. The second guy, the chubby one, gets a visit from Bonnie, who locks him in a metal room for a quick snack. Their buddy's screams alert the leader, who's spooked and has no idea what's happening, so he starts trying to escape. Jeff watches them through the surveillance cameras, but the animatronics spot him too. So Chica sends Mr. Cupcake through the ventilation duct to snack on Jeff, and though he doesn't succeed, Foxy is relentless and sends him to his friends. But since they weren't coming out and were taking too long, Maxine, the babysitter, walks in to check on her brother and his crew. When she enters, she finds no one, and out of nowhere, a kid runs up to her and tells her to follow. So now Freddy Fazbear greets her, and he doesn't even spook her. He just stands still, waiting for her to get close so he can literally bite her head off. On the flip side, at home, Abby stumbles upon the custody documents and pleads with her brother not to give her away. She insists that Aunt Jane is a meanie who doesn't want her, but their conversation gets cut short when Vanessa shows up to inform Mike that someone broke into the pizzeria. She also shows him his sleep pills, making it clear he forgot to lock the door, and it's his fault those bad dudes got in. To talk more and explain what's going on, he takes her to a creek and spills the beans about his childhood and the sad story behind his brother Garrett. So now Vanessa tosses her sleep pills, saying he doesn't need them and he better stay sharp at the pizzeria today. That night, Mike decides to bring little Abby to work for some company, and while she's napping, he starts cleaning up the mess left by the delinquents. But when the clock strikes 4 a.m., an unseen robot approaches Abby, waking her and inviting her to explore the place. At the same time, in his dreams, Mike encounters a kid who disappeared in the 80s and asks for info about his little bro. But the kid says he'll help in exchange for something. Before he can spill the beans on what he wants, Mike wakes up because he hears his sister Abby screaming. But it's a false alarm. She's screaming with joy, playing with the animatronics. Regardless, he gets her to say goodbye and takes her back home. The next morning, Mike realizes that Abby had been drawing the 5 lost kids and a strange yellow bunny. It all starts to make sense. During breakfast, they chat, and Abby reveals that she had dreams and knew about her brother Garrett, even though the family never talked about him. Mike asks Abby to question her friends, the ghostly kids occupying the animatronics, about where Garrett is, or more specifically, the person who kidnapped him. Abby tells him she'll do it, revealing that all her friends are ghosts now, inside the animatronics. At night, Mike arrives with Abby and the police patrol is outside. When they enter, they greet all the robots and have a good time with everyone. While searching for something in the props room, Mike and Vanessa find another animatronic on the floor, known as Puppet, lifeless and in need of a host. At this moment, something more interesting happens. While Abby is dancing with the animatronics, she approaches Bonnie and wants to touch his guitar, but she gets electrocuted and passes out. However, she wakes up later, and it seems like it wasn't too serious. As the night winds down, Vanessa tells Mike not to bring Abby back again because it's way more dangerous than he thinks. So, the next morning, Mike wakes Abby up to let her know that Aunt Jane will have custody from now on. However, the girl isn't thrilled and gets so upset with her brother that she scribbles him out of all her drawings. At night, while Mike is sleeping, he's taken to another dream where his whole family is happy, and the same kid offers him a deal. This reality can be his every night when he sleeps, but in exchange, he has to give up his sister Abby. Surprisingly, Mike accepts, not realizing that now the animatronics will want to take her. Later, Abby is at Aunt Jane's house when things take an intriguing turn. We soon see Freddy Fazbear's doll lurking behind Aunt Jane. At the same time, in Abby's room, the kid from her dream shows up telling her they need to go play because her animatronic friends miss her. So she agrees, hops in a taxi with the doll, and they head to the pizzeria. At the same time, Mike is still in his dreams, getting injured, and when he tries to reject the deal he previously accepted, the dream kids start attacking him, leaving him with serious wounds all over his body. So later on, he wakes up and finds himself next to the corpses previously slain by the dolls. But he dozes off again, and Vanessa wakes him up later tending to his wounds. Now Mike tells her about Abby being in danger, because he accepted the deal from the Dream Kids. That's when Vanessa tells him that the robots want to keep her and spills the truth about how these kids were abducted by William Upton, who's actually their dad. Mike, hearing this, connects all the dots and finally understands why she knew so much about this pizzeria. We even see a photo of him dressed as a bunny with her when she was a kid. He's furious with her for knowing the truth all this time, especially that it was this man who kidnapped his brother Garrett. So Mike gets up and heads to the pizzeria to save his sister. Before he leaves, Vanessa hands him a weapon and instructs him to enter through a duct, warning him to stay vigilant because all the animatronics follow their father's orders. We see Mike speeding in a police patrol car to the pizzeria where Abby is with Freddy, ready to go in. When they enter, the dolls start singing, beginning a ritual, and Chica leads Abby slowly into a dark corridor. Mike sneaks in from the rear and throws water on Freddy and Bonnie to electrocute them, while Chica takes Abby to an old room where Puppet is. The plan was to give Puppet life when it absorbed the girl's soul, but at that moment, Mike arrives and prevents it by electrocuting Chica, allowing them to escape. However, as they run, Mr. Cupcake bites Mike's leg, making their escape more difficult. But our protagonist manages to electrocute it too. In the main hall, Abby is really scared, and Foxy appears to catch her. Just when it seems like the end for her, Vanessa shows up and electrocutes the doll, saving the girl. But things take an even more interesting turn here. From the dark area, Spring Bonnie, the yellow bunny, and the leader emerges. He starts beating up Mike, and at that moment, Vanessa arrives to confront her father. She's had enough of all the harm he's done, so she shoots him. To keep her from interfering, William stabs his daughter, Vanessa, in the belly. Right then, the old man orders the animatronics to finish them all off, but Mike tells Abby to show her friends how the old William is really the bad guy, because he kidnapped and killed them all, trapping them in these bodies for all eternity. So now Abby creates a new drawing where the yellow bunny is the bad guy and sticks it on the mural. So now that all the animatronics know the truth, they turn against him. They beat him until the yellow bunny suit completely absorbs him, destroying his entire body. Finally, everything is all sunshine and rainbows, and our heroes are safe. Abby goes to school and makes real friends. Vanessa ends up in a coma due to what her father did to her, and Mike tries to rebuild his life. But of course, there's something more important, because in the end, the ghostly kid finds the old man in the yellow bunny suit, completely absorbed, turning into Springtrap, the future and worn-out version of the Spring Bunny suit. That was Five Nights at Freddy's. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment which movie you would like me to summarize.
Go to work.
Okay. Bye.